lined up waiting for a truck, which they all knew was to take them to the gas chambers, according to his biographer. She says, "And when the truck arrives, no one can speak at all. Even the guards fall silent. But this silence is soon interrupted by an energetic man who jumps into the line and grabs one of the condemned. Improbable as it is, Desnos reads the man's palm. 'Oh,' he says, 'I see you have a very long lifeline, and you're going to have 3 children.' He is exuberant. His excitement is contagious. First one man, then another offers up his hand, and the prediction is for longevity, more children, abundant joy." As Desnos reads these palms, not only does the mood of the prisoners change, but that of the guards too. They are so disoriented by this sudden change of mood among those they are about to kill that they are unable to go through with the executions. A year ago, shortly after the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, I found myself in a group of colleagues discussing all the sort of grievous things that were going on in the world, and it was getting pretty heavy. And I started to feel like Desnos amidst this line of prisoners. And so I offered to read them this poem that I want to share with you now, Night Watchman of Pointe-au-Change. Listen to us in your turn, sailors, pilots, soldiers. We wish you good morning. We do not speak to you of our suffering, but of our hope. On the threshold of a new day, we say good morning. To you who are near also, to you who will receive our morning prayer at the moment when twilight in straw boots enters your house. And good morning just the same, and good morning for tomorrow, and good morning of good heart and all our kin. Good morning, good morning. The sun will rise over Paris. Even if hidden by clouds, it will still be there. Good morning, with all my heart, bonjour. I know of no more tender embrace of the world than this poem. I too wish you bonjour.
Thank you. Are there any announcements? Senator from Washington.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules be suspended and pending entry onto the notice calendar S80, an act relating to miscellaneous conservation subjects, be referred to the Committee on Appropriations pursuant to Rule 31.
Now the senator from Washington has moved that the rules be suspended and pending entry on the notice calendar S80, an act relating to miscellaneous conservation subjects, be referred to the Committee on Appropriations pursuant to Rule 31. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed indicate by saying nay. The ayes have it, and you've suspended your rules as offered by the senator from Washington in order to move S80 to the Committee on Appropriations pursuant to Rule 31. Are there any further announcements? Seeing none, we have one Senate bill and a few House bills for introduction and reference. Senate bill being S141. 141 is introduced by Senator Renner of Chittenden North. Please listen to the first reading of the bill by title.
S141, an act relating to approval of the charter of Fairfax Fire District Number 1.
Now you've heard the first reading of the bill is referred to the Committee on Government Operations. We have House bills for referral, H55, introduced by Representative Marcotte and others. Please listen to the first reading of the bill by title.
H55, an act relating to miscellaneous unemployment insurance amendments.
Now you've heard the first reading of the bill is referred to the Committee on Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs. We have H110 introduced by Representative Sibilia of Dover. Please listen to the first reading of the bill by title.
H 110, an act relating to extending the sunset under 30 VSA Section 248A.
Now you've heard the first reading of the bill is referred to the Committee on Finance. We have H 171, introduced by Representative Noyes and others. Please listen to the first reading of the bill by title.
H 171, an act relating to adult protective services.
Now you've heard the first reading of the bill is referred to the Committee on Health and Welfare. And we have H 471, introduced by the House Committee on Ways and Means. Please listen to the first reading of the bill by title.
H 471, an act relating to technical and administrative changes to Vermont's tax laws.
Now you've heard the first reading of the bill is referred to the Committee on Finance. That brings us to the orders of the day. I believe we are going to be taking up S27 at this time. Third reading of S27 was ordered. Are there any amendments before third reading? Seeing none, please listen to the third reading of the bill.
S27, an act relating to reducing the imposition of cash bail.
Now you've heard the third reading of the bill. The question is, shall the bill pass? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed indicate by saying nay. Nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have passed S27. We now have up for consideration S33. S33 was read the first time and referred to the Committee on Judiciary, which recommends that when the bill is amended, it ought to pass. Further, the bill was then referred to the Committee on Finance, which also recommends that when amended, the bill ought to pass. Please listen to the second reading of the bill.
S33, an act relating to miscellaneous judiciary procedures.
Now you've heard the second reading of the bill. For the report from the Committee on Judiciary, the Senator from Windham County, Senator Hashim.
Mr. President, I am delighted to be back in Montpelier in person for the opportunity to report the exhilarating content that's contained within the miscellaneous judiciary bill. There are many technical changes in this bill, as well as some changes that are more substantive than they are technical, and I will do my best to differentiate between the two where applicable. And this bill, for reference, is on page 628. So I'll start with section 1. Section 1 is technical in nature and adds a missing subsection heading. Section 2 is a bit more substantive. It adds judicial master to the list of judicial officers that a chief superior judge may assign to hear a case in the superior court. Currently, when the need arises, the chief superior judge may specially assign judges, magistrates, and hearing officers to handle a case. Section 2 permits judicial masters to be assigned in the same way. This change is one of many steps that the committee is taking in order to help alleviate our court backlogs. Section 3 is technical and makes grammatical changes. Section 4 is more substantive. It gives parties who represent themselves in court proceedings, also known as pro se litigants, the same ability to file declarations in place of oaths that attorneys now have. Currently, if a court proceeding requires an oath for a particular document, an attorney in the court's electronic filing system can instead file a declaration that the statement is true, subject to the penalties of perjury. This provision was adopted during the COVID pandemic to permit court papers to be filed without requiring oaths to be sworn in person before a notary. Now that the judicial emergency has been lifted, the court has requested that the same right be given to pro se litigants. Section 4 does this by permitting all parties required to make an oath in court in a court proceeding to instead file a declaration that the statement is true, subject to the penalties of perjury, without having to swear to the statement in person before a notary. Section 5 is technical and makes a grammatical change. Section 6 is technical and adds a missing subsection heading. Section 7 is technical and corrects an outdated cross-reference that is no longer accurate. The rules of electronic access to court records are now called the rules for public access to court records. So the cross-reference is corrected in Section 7. Section 8 is technical and involves the day is a day legislation that was passed several years ago, which established that for the purposes of court proceedings, references in statute to a number of days would count all days, including weekends and holidays. In order to establish this approach, the time limits in many statutes had to be extended to take into account that weekends and holidays were now being counted. However, the time period in Section 8 for payment of rent into court was inadvertently omitted and the correction is made here, changing 5 business days to 7 days, so that it is now consistent with the rest of the statutes. Section 9 is substantive and raises the jurisdictional limit for small claims actions from $5,000 to $10,000. This means that a person would be able to file a small claims lawsuit for up to $10,000 in damages, rather than the current maximum of $5,000. The purpose of this is to keep up with inflation and the cost of attorneys. Section 10 is a modernization in terminology. The phrase prisoner at the bar is an outdated phrase and is no longer used to describe a criminal defendant. Section 10 updates that language. Section 11 is a technical correction to an inaccurate cross-reference. The statute referred to has been repealed, so the cross-reference is corrected to refer to the statute that replaced it. Section 12 is substantive and was requested by the Department of State's attorneys to give the state the same appeal rights in youthful offender proceedings that it has under current law in adult criminal proceedings. Current law permits the state to appeal certain judgments in criminal proceedings to the Supreme Court. Some of these orders include dismissing criminal charges, orders to suppress evidence, and several others. However, the Vermont Supreme Court has recently ruled that this appeal right only applies to adult criminal proceedings because the statutory language uses the terms prosecution for a misdemeanor and prosecution for a felony. Section 12 provides that those terms include youthful offender proceedings, so the state would have the same right of appeal in those proceedings as it has in criminal proceedings. Section 13 is technical and adds a missing subsection heading. Sections 14 and 15 deal with the penalty under existing law for tampering with an ignition interlock device on behalf of another person who is prohibited from driving without the device. The legislature intended that this be a civil violation in the Judicial Bureau rather than a criminal violation, but the language is ambiguous. Section 14 clarifies that it is a civil violation, and Section 15 provides the Judicial Bureau with jurisdiction over these types of offenses. Section 16 is technical and corrects a redundancy in the statute that authorizes sheriffs to collect a $75 fee for serving certain types of court process. The $75 fee appears in 2 separate subdivisions, which makes the phrase "except as provided" redundant when it refers to both of them, so it has been deleted. Section 17 is substantive and contains 2 changes related to juvenile case records. The Defender General's Office, Department of State's Attorney, and the Department for Children and Families have all agreed that the current confidentiality requirements for juvenile records make it difficult to provide treatment for children in the juvenile system. These stakeholders have jointly proposed a language in Section 17 to permit service providers, court diversion programs, community-based providers, and treatment programs to have access to the records so that children in the juvenile system can be treated more effectively. The second change to Section 17 is substantive and makes juvenile records available to the National Instant Criminal Background Check System for purposes of conducting a background check when a person under 21 years of age purchases a firearm. This is required to make Vermont law consistent with the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act of 2022 passed by Congress last June. Section 18 is a recommendation by the Juvenile Justice Stakeholder Group regarding the risk and needs screening that must be offered to a child prior to the preliminary hearing in a juvenile proceeding. Section 18 provides that information related to the offense, directly or indirectly derived from the risk and needs screening or from other conversations with the provider, cannot be used against the child in the case for any purpose. Section 19 concerns youthful offender proceedings and is also a recommendation by the Juvenile Justice Stakeholder Group. Section 19 provides that prior to the approval of a youthful offender disposition case plan, the court may refer a child directly to a youth-appropriate community-based provider that has been provided by the department, that has been approved by the department, and which may include a community justice center or a balanced and restorative justice program. Referral to the program will not require the court to place the child on probation. Sections 20 and 21 reorganize a section of criminal law but do not make any substantive changes. The current statute prohibiting domestic terrorism is located in the extortion chapter of the criminal code, which does not quite make sense. The committee decided it would be more logical and accessible to establish a separate domestic terrorism chapter and move that existing statute into this new chapter. So this change is made in sections 20 and 21. Section 22 is technical and involves the state DNA database, which maintains DNA records of persons convicted of certain crimes. Currently, a person must be notified by certified mail when the person's DNA is removed from the database because the conviction was reversed or the person was pardoned. The certified mail requirement was proven to be ineffective and costly. So Section 22 permits the notice to be provided by regular mail. Section 23 is substantive and addresses the ignition interlock device that some drivers are permitted to use after a DUI conviction. Currently, the offender is permitted to drive with the device right after the conviction without having to serve a suspension period. However, it is a common occurrence for a defendant to plead guilty to the lesser offense of negligent operation. And in that case, the offender must serve a 90-day suspension before using the ignition interlock device. Section 23 corrects this result by providing that when a person charged with DUI pleads guilty to the lesser offense of negligent operation, the person will be able to use the ignition interlock device right away after the conviction. The committee agreed that it makes much more sense for a person who accepts a less punitive conviction to not have to endure harsher collateral consequences, such as the compulsory 90-day conviction. Sections 24 and 25 concern the Vermont Sentencing Commission. Section 24 extends the commission's sunset from July 1st, 2023 to July 1st, 2025, so that the commission has sufficient time to finish its work. Section 25 requires the commission to report to the Senate and House Judiciary Committees by December 15th, 2023, about whether the statutory definition of stalking is in need of any update or modification. Sections 26 and 27 was requested by the Attorney General's Office to modify the statute of limitations for tort claims based on environmental contamination. Specifically, this is in Chapter 10, in which the Attorney General may bring an action in civil court. Under the current standard, an environmental hazard claim would have to be brought within 6 years after the polluter took some action that contributed to the hazard. This standard is problematic for environmental contamination cases under the state hazardous materials law, where the last action taken by the polluter may have occurred many years before the contamination is resolved and the violation ceases. Sections 26 and 27 remedy this problem by providing that a claim based on environmental contamination accrues so long as the contamination remains on the property. This means that until the contamination is removed or resolved, the action can be brought regardless of when the last act of pollution occurred. Once the contamination is removed or resolved, the limitations period begins and any action must be brought within 6 years. And finally, Section 28 provides that the bill will take effect on passage. We heard from the lab director of the Vermont Forensics Laboratory in the Department of Public Safety, Legislative Counsel, Deputy State's Attorney from Chittenden County, the Chief of Environmental and Public Protection Division from the Attorney General's Office, the Legislative and Assistant Appellate Attorney from the Vermont Department of State's Attorneys and Sheriffs, the Deputy Defender General and Chief Juvenile Defender from the Defender General's Office, the Deputy Commissioner from the Family Services Division of the Department for Children and Families, the Deputy Commissioner from the Department of Motor Vehicles, the Defender General from the Defender General's Office, and the Chief Superior Judge. Mr. President, this is a bill that collectively creates a number of technical changes, but also helps to alleviate our burdensome court backlog. Your Senate Judiciary Committee voted unanimously on this bill with a vote of 5-0-0, and I ask for the body's support.
Now, you've heard the report from the Committee on Judiciary, and now for the report from the Committee on Finance, Senator from Windsor, Senator McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Finance Committee's interest in this bill is limited to the bill's impact on the finances of the state. The judiciary existing budget can absorb any expenses associated with the bill, and we have determined that its impact on the finances of the state is negligible, and that we recommend passage.
Now you've heard the report of the Committee on Finance. Question is, shall the Senate adopt the report of the Committee on Judiciary? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed indicate by saying nay. The ayes have it, and you have adopted the report of the Committee on Judiciary. The question is now, shall the bill be read a third time? Are you ready for that question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed indicate by saying nay. The ayes have it, and you've ordered third reading of S33. That completes the orders of the day. Madam Chair from Government Operations, would you care to offer?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I move that we suspend the rules and take up for consideration as a group all of the appointees on page 708 that are not underlined.
Now, the Senator from Addison has moved that Senate suspend its rules in order to take up for consideration in a group the confirmations as found on page 708 of today's House calendar, specifically the four that are not underlined. That would be John Holler, Mark Nicholson, the first two, and Susan Hayward and Heather Schuldeis, the last two. Are you ready for the question, for confirmation? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed indicate by saying nay. The ayes have it, and you have suspended your rules to confirm those four recommendations of confirmation. We now have a number of other confirmations to be considered at this time on page 708. I'll take them in order on the list, so those of you who will be reporting will be prepared. The first being Owen Foster of Jericho to be the chair of the Green Mountain Care Board for the duration to and including September 30th, 2024, and until a successor is appointed and has qualified. For the report of the Committee on Health and Welfare, the Senator from Chittenden Southeast, Senator Lyons.
Thank you, Mr. President. The process for nomination to become chair of the Green Mountain Care Board is one that involves first a nominating committee where folks provide their information to the committee. The committee is made up of both House and Senate members as well as members from the community representing different areas, including healthcare. The nominating process this time took a while. It usually goes over summer and then into the fall. The process includes reviewing credentials, background, and a complex and comprehensive interview process. At the end of that process, then names are submitted to the governor, and the governor selects someone to lead the Green Mountain Care Board, in this case, Owen Foster. Owen attended the University of Vermont for a Bachelor's of Arts, Columbia University School of Law, and has a comprehensive employment background, including working for the Honorable William K. Sessions in the U.S. District Court as a clerk. He defended private equity portfolio manager in a SEC investigation when he was in Boston and Deckert organization. He has also served as in the U.S. Attorney's Office in the District of Vermont as an assistant United States attorney, where he led civil and criminal cases, including as first chair trial and appellate counsel, served as the healthcare fraud coordinator, the ethics officer, led a USA on the 5 largest recoveries in Vermont history, including against Purdue Pharma, where the agreement was to pay over $8 billion across the country. And he's also worked in other similar lawsuits. He has now been appointed by Governor Phil Scott as chair of Vermont's healthcare regulator on the Green Mountain Care Board. When we interviewed Mr. Foster, we were impressed by his understanding of his role as a regulator on the Green Mountain Care Board. He recognizes the dynamic needs that have occurred in our state, including those related to COVID. He sees his work as exciting in healthcare. He was very complimentary of the staff he's working with and is enjoying the process that is now going on in the Green Mountain Care Board as a result of Act 167 that we passed out of this, out of the legislature last year. One of the comments that he made that I think is significant is that he felt he's had good leaders in the past and that have served as role models for him and helping him become an important part of the Green Mountain Care Board as chair. He's organized the work around Act 167, which is comprehensive, into subgroup works, including global budget analysis for hospitals at the Green Mountain Care Board, and then working collaboratively with the Agency of Human Services. And I will just, as an aside, indicate that I have been able to see him work with our Secretary of Agency of Human Services as we've talked together about the community needs within the state of Vermont as they relate to the improvements to our healthcare system under Act 167. Mr. President, your Committee on Health and Welfare voted unanimously to recommend his confirmation as chair of the Green Mountain Care Board and ask that you vote favorably.
The question is, shall the Senate confirm Owen Foster of Jericho as the chair of the Green Mountain Care Board from and including October 1st, 2022 to and including September 30th, 2024, and until a successor is appointed and as qualified? Are you ready for the question?
Roll call.
Roll call has been requested. Senator from Rutland requested the roll call. Are you ready for the question? If so, the Secretary shall commence to call the roll.
Senator Baruch.
Yes.
Senator Bray. Senator Brock.
Yes.
Senator Campion.
Yes.
Senator Chittenden.
Yes.
Senator Clarkson.
Yes.
Senator Collmore.
Yes.
Senator Cummings.
Yes.
Senator Gulick. Senator Hardy.
Yes.
Senator Harrison.
Yes.
Senator Hashim.
Yes.
Senator Ingalls.
Yes.
Senator Kitchell.
Yes.
Senator Lyons.
Yes.
Senator McDonald.
Yes.
Senator Mazza.
Yes.
Senator McCormick.
Yes.
Senator Norris.
Yes.
Senator Pershlet.
Yes.
Senator Ron Hinsdale.
Yes.
Senator Sears.
Yes.
Senator Starr.
Yes.
Senator Biehoski. Senator Watson.
Yes.
Senator Weeks.
Yes.
Senator Westman.
Yes.
Senator White. Senator Williams.
Yes.
Senator Renner.
Yes.
Senator Bray.
Yes.
Senator Gulick. Senator Biehoski. Senator White.
Please listen to the results of your vote. Those voting yea, 27, those voting nay, 0, and you have confirmed the appointment of Owen Foster as the chair of the Green Mountain Care Board. We now have up for confirmation June Tierney of Randolph Center as the Commissioner for the Department of Public Service for a term from and including February 1st, 2023 to and including January 31st, 2025, and until a successor is appointed and has qualified. For the report of the Committee on Finance, I'd like to recognize Senator from Washington County, Senator Cummings.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 3 pages of information on Commissioner Tierney, but I'm going to keep this mercifully short, mostly because if I talk with the cold I'm still battling, I cough. So I'm going to keep this very, and Commissioner Tierney is no stranger to this body. She was first appointed in 2017 by Governor Scott. Prior to becoming the Commissioner of the Public Service Department, she was the General Counsel of the Public Utility Commission. She worked as a staff attorney for the Department of Public Service. Commissioner Tierney is a graduate of Boston University and the Vermont Law School, and she is also a United States Army veteran. So she has, during the pandemic, as a lot of state committees picked up extra work. The department, under her leadership, took over managing the utilities arrearage program that allowed people not to be evicted or charged for for having utility arrearages. She has been very active in the implementation of Act 71 and the setting up of the Vermont Community Broadband Board, worked at active deployment, especially during COVID, rapid deployment for broadband. The department has completed the comprehensive energy plan, and they are completed a potential study for the efficiency savings in electricity and natural gas. She works with, I believe is on, the clean heat development on the Climate Council, and has worked on that plan, and it continues to be very active. We have found the commissioner to be, I think it's probably the best relationship your finance department has had with a commissioner in the public service department. She's been very cooperative and easy to deal with. The vote in committee, I believe, was 7-0. It might have been 6-0-1, but there were no negative votes, and we asked this body to concur.
I'll just confirm for the senator, on my document it is 7-0. The question now is, shall the Senate confirm the appointment of June Tierney of Randolph Center as the Commissioner of the Department of Public Service for a term from and including February 1st, 2023 to and including January 31st, 2025 until a successor is appointed and as qualified? Are you ready for the question?
Roll call.
Roll call has been requested. Are you ready for the question? If so, Secretary shall commence to call the roll.
Senator Baru.
Yes.
Senator Bray.
Yes.
Senator Brock.
Yes.
Senator Campion.
Yes.
Senator Chittenden.
Yes.
Senator Clarkson.
Yes.
Senator Collmore.
Yes.
Senator Cummings.
Yes.
Senator Gulick. Senator Hardy.
Yes.
Senator Harrison.
Yes.
Senator Hashim.
Yes.
Senator Engel.
Yes.
Senator Kitchell.
Yes.
Senator Lyons.
Yes.
Senator McDonald.
Yes.
Senator Mazza.
Yes.
Senator McCormick.
Yes.
Senator Norris.
Yes.
Senator Pershman.
Yes.
Senator Ron Hinsdale.
Yes.
Senator Sears.
Yes.
Senator Starr.
Yes.
Senator Biholski. Senator Watson.
Yes.
Senator Weeks.
Yes.
Senator Westman.
Yes.
Senator White.
If I could remind the senators in the chamber that there will be no discussion during the process of a roll call vote.
Senator Williams.
Yes.
Senator Renner.
Yes.
Senator Gulick. Senator Biholski. Senator White.
Please list the results of your vote. Those voting yea, 27. Those voting nay, 0. And you have confirmed the appointment of June Tierney as the Commissioner of the Department of Public Service. We now have up for consideration Joe Flynn of South Hero as the Secretary of the Agency of Transportation for a term from and including March 1st, 2023 to and including February 28th, 2025, and until a successor is appointed and as qualified. For the report of the Committee on Transportation, I'd like to recognize Senator from Grand Isle, Senator Mazza.
President, I am pleased to report on Secretary Flynn. Secretary Flynn served in Vermont state government since October 2009, the capacity from rail director, a brief stint, and in the 2 months in the Irene Recovery Office, she was Director of Emergency Management, Director of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, Deputy Commissioner of Public Safety, and his current role as Secretary of Transportation. He has many other positions that he has held during this time, but I will not go into detail. Prior to state government, Secretary Flynn spent 32 years employed in the private sector. In addition, he served as Deputy Sheriff in Grand Isle County, member of the South Hero Select Board, Chief of the Fire Chief of South Hero, and many other public service activities. He has lived in South Hero for 35 years. The committee vote was 5-0-0. I would urge the Senate to confirm Senate Secretary Flynn. Thank you, Mr. President.
You've heard the report of the Committee on Transportation. The question now is, shall Joe Flynn of South Hero be confirmed as Secretary of the Agency of Transportation for a term from and including March 1st, 2023 to and including February 28th, 2025, and until a successor is appointed and has qualified? Are you ready for the question?
Roll call.
Roll call has been requested by the Senator from Rutland. Are you ready for the question? If so, the Secretary shall commence to call the roll.
Senator Baruch.
Yes.
Senator Bray.
Yes.
Senator Brock.
Yes.
Senator Campbell.
Yes.
Senator Chittenden.
Yes.
Senator Clarkson.
Yes.
Senator Collmore.
Yes.
Senator Cummings.
Yes.
Senator Gulick. Senator Hardy.
Yes.
Senator Harrison.
Yes.
Senator Hashi.
Yes.
Senator Ingalls.
Yes.
Senator Kitchell.
Yes.
Senator Lyons.
Yes.
Senator McDonald.
Yes.
Senator Mazza.
Yes.
Senator McCormack.
Yes.
Senator Norris.
Yes.
Senator Persley.
Yes.
Senator Ron Hinsdale.
Yes.
Senator Sears.
Yes.
Senator Starr.
Yes.
Senator Behovsky. Senator Watson.
Yes.
Senator Weeks.
Yes.
Senator Westman.
Yes.
Senator White. Senator Williams.
Yes.
Senator Renner.
Yes.
Senator Gulick. Senator Behovsky. Senator White.
Please list the results of your vote. Those voting yea, 27. Those voting nay, 0. And you have confirmed the appointment of Joe Flynn as the Secretary of the Agency of Transportation. We now have up for consideration the confirmation of Wanda Manoli of Montpelier as the Commissioner of the Department of Motor Vehicles for a term from and including March 1st, 2023 to and including February 28th, 2025 until a successor is appointed and has qualified. Now for the report of the Committee on Transportation, the Senator from Washington County, Senator Perchlik.
Thank you, Mr. President. Wanda Manoli was appointed Commissioner of the DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles, by Governor Scott in 2018. Prior to this appointment, she had previously served in many different leadership roles within Vermont executive government. She has 37 years as a Vermont public service, has given her vast experience in the state. Just on a personal note, when I first started working as an advocate in the building about 20 years ago, sometimes I had interactions with buildings and general services when Wanda was working at BGS at the time, and I always enjoyed working with her. She always approached even somebody inexperienced and had no power at the time, like me, just trying to advocate for things with honor and humility and just respect for the whole process and everybody that was trying to be involved. So I always enjoyed whenever I had to work with Wanda back then. She spent most of her whole career working in different parts of state government. She used to manage the state school construction program when that existed. She developed and managed the state's capital bill. She led and coordinated the Strategic Enterprise Initiative, and she served as Deputy Commissioner of both BGS and DMV, where she's now the Commissioner. The vote in committee was 5-0-0 to confirm Wanda Manoli as the Commissioner for this 2-year term, and we urge the Senate to confirm Wanda Manoli.
Okay, heard the report from the Committee on Transportation on the question of the Senate shop in front of Waterman Oley of Montpelier as Commissioner of the Department of Motor Vehicles, from including March 1st, 2023 to and including February 28th, 2025, and until successors become advanced qualified. Are you ready for the question?
Roll call.
Roll call for the question. Are you ready for the question? If so, Secretary Shaw, please call the roll.
Senator Baru,
Yes.
Senator Bray,
Yes.
Senator Brock,
Yes.
Senator Campion,
Yes.
Senator Chittenden,
Yes.
Senator Clarkson,
Yes.
Senator Collmore,
Yes.
Senator Cummings,
Yes.
Senator Gulick, Senator Hardy,
Yes.
Senator Harrison,
Yes.
Senator Hashim,
Yes.
Senator Ingalls,
Yes.
Senator Kitchell,
Yes.
Senator Lyons,
Yes.
Senator McDonald, Senator Mazza,
Yes.
Senator McCormack,
Yes.
Senator Norris,
Yes.
Senator Pershing,
Yes.
Senator Ron Hinsdale,
Yes.
Senator Sears,
Yes.
Senator Starr,
Yes.
Senator Bukowski, Senator Watson,
Yes.
Senator Wheat,
Yes.
Senator Westman,
Yes.
Senator White, Senator Williams,
Yes.
Senator Renner,
Yes.
Senator Gulick, Senator Bukowski, Senator White.
Please listen to the results of your vote. Those voting yea, 27, those voting nay, 0, and you have confirmed Wanda Manoli as the Commissioner of the Department of Motor Vehicles. We now have up for confirmation Jennifer Morrison of North Hero as the Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety for a term from and including March 1st, 2023 to and including February 28th, 2025, and until successor is appointed and has qualified. Now for the report of the Committee on Transportation, the Senator from Chittenden Southeast, Senator Chittenden.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this chamber might notice that we've already actually appointed Secretary or Commissioner Morrison earlier this session. She started this partway through the last commissioner's term, and she began last July. So this is the confirmation for the coming 2 years. Jennifer Morrison has over 30 years of experience in law enforcement leadership and coaching. She served in the Burlington Police Department from 1990 to 2013, and again in 2020 as interim chief. She was the chief of police in Colchester from 2013 to 2018. She joined the Department of Public Safety as the executive director of policy development in 2020. And in 2021, she became the deputy commissioner and was appointed commissioner in the summer of 2022. Morrison holds a bachelor's of arts in journalism and criminal justice from the George Washington University and a master's degree in leadership studies from Norwich University. Your Committee of Transportation voted 5-0-0, and we urge this chamber to concur.
Now you've heard the report from the Committee on Transportation on the confirmation of Jennifer Morrison of North Hero as the Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety. The question is, shall the Senate confirm Jennifer Morrison as the Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety? Senator from Chittenden Southeast.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't intend to ask anything of the body or delay this confirmation. I have known Jennifer Morrison for a long time from my days at the University of Vermont, and it pains me to vote no on her confirmation. Since we initially confirmed her to this role, some matters came to light about not investigating racial slurs and other really problematic behavior from some state police officers that she had declined initially to investigate. And I would have liked to see some conversation about that with her before the confirmation came forward. Having served on your Government Operations Committee previously, when matters related to restructuring the Department of Public Safety had come up, they had gone through government operations. Police oversight has generally gone through either government operations or judiciary committees. So I can understand why the Transportation Committee didn't necessarily take up some of these concerning issues, but it's not enough information for me at this time to approve Jennifer Morrison in this confirmation, and I just wanted to say that before we vote.
Senator from Windham County.
Mr. President, I'd like to provide just a point of clarification. The initial investigation was declined, and that was something that was concerning to me, but I would also like to note that there was critical information that was missing. Once the Department of Public Safety received that information, they opened their investigation and are continuing it right now. Just wanted to provide that clarification. Thank you.
Question is, shall the Senate confirm Jennifer Morrison as the Commissioner of Department of Public Safety? Are you ready for the question?
Roll call.
Roll call has been requested by the Senator from Rutland. Secretary shall commence to call the roll.
Senator Baruch.
Yes.
Senator Bray.
Yes.
Senator Brock.
Yes.
Senator Campion.
Yes.
Senator Chittenden.
Yes.
Senator Clarkson.
Yes.
Senator Collimore.
Yes.
Senator Cummings.
Yes.
Senator Gulick. Senator Hardy.
Yes.
Senator Harrison.
Yes.
Senator Hashim.
Yes.
Senator Ingalls.
Yes.
Senator Kitchell.
Yes.
Senator Lyons.
Yes.
Senator McDonald.
Yes.
Senator Mazza.
Yes.
Senator McCormack.
Yes.
Senator Norris.
Yes.
Senator Perschlich.
Yes.
Senator Ron Hinsdale.
Yes.
Senator Sears.
Yes.
Senator Starr.
Yes.
Senator Biholski. Senator Watson.
Yes.
Senator Weeks.
Yes.
Senator Westman.
Yes.
Senator White. Senator Williams.
Yes.
Senator Renner.
Yes.
Senator Gulick. Senator Biholski. Senator White.
Please listen to the results of your votes. Those voting yea, those voting 27, those voting nay, 0. And you have confirmed Jennifer Morrison of North Hero as the Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety for a term from and including March 1st, 2023 to and including February 28th, 2025 and until a successor is appointed and as qualified. We now have up for consideration the appointment of Jennifer Fitch of Montpelier as the Commissioner of the Department of Buildings and General Services. Please listen to the report of the committee as offered by the Senator from Institutions Committee, Senator from Grand Isle.
President, I rise in support of Commissioner Fitch. She was appointed Commissioner of Building and General Services in January 2021 by Governor Phil Scott. Mrs. Fitch began her career with the Vermont Agency of Transportation in the fall of 2004, serving as a research program manager for the materials and research section until the fall of 2011, when she became project manager in the newly established Accelerated Bridge Program with EOT within the structure section. Mrs. Fitch was promoted to lead the Project Initiative and Innovation Team in 2014. In April 2016, she was appointed Deputy Commissioner of Buildings and General Services and appointed Commissioner in 2020. The committee vote was 5-0-0, and we urge the Senate to confirm Commissioner Fitch. Thank you.
Now, you've heard the report from the Committee on Institutions. Question is, shall the Senate confirm Jennifer Fitch of Montpelier as the Commissioner of the Department of Buildings and General Services for a term from and including March 1st, 2023 to and including February 28th, 2025 and until a successor is appointed and as qualified? Are you ready for the question?
Roll call.
Roll call has been requested by the Senator from Rutland. Are you ready for the question? If so, the Secretary shall commence to call the roll.
Senator Baruch.
Yes.
Senator Bray.
Yes.
Senator Brock.
Yes.
Senator Campion.
Yes.
Senator Chittenden.
Yes.
Senator Clarkson.
Yes.
Senator Collimore.
Yes.
Senator Cummings.
Yes.
Senator Gulick. Senator Hardy.
Yes.
Senator Harrison.
Yes.
Senator Hashim.
Yes.
Senator Ingalls.
Yes.
Senator Kitchell.
Yes.
Senator Lyons.
Yes.
Senator McDonald.
Yes.
Senator Mazza.
Yes.
Senator McCormack.
Yes.
Senator Norris.
Yes.
Senator Perschlich.
Yes.
Senator Ron Hinsdale.
Yes.
Senator Sears.
Yes.
Senator Starr.
Yes.
Senator Biholski. Senator Watson.
Yes.
Senator Weeks.
Yes.
Senator Westman.
Yes.
Senator White. Senator Williams.
Yes.
Senator Renner.
Yes.
Senator Gulick. Senator Bohosky. Senator White.
Please listen to the results of your vote. Those voting yea, 27. Those voting nay, 0. And you have confirmed Jennifer Fitch of Montpelier as the Commissioner of the Department of Buildings and General Services. Are there any announcements? Excuse me, Senator from Chittenden Central.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move that pending announcements, the Senate stand in adjournment until 9:30 a.m. Tuesday, the 28th.
Now, the Senator from Chittenden Central has moved that Senate stand adjournment until Tuesday, March 28th at 9:30 a.m. Pending announcements. Are there any announcements? Senator from Bennington.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Education will meet at 1 o'clock. We'll have witnesses. Feel free to bring your lunch.
Senator from Madison.
Thank you, Mr. President. The same for government ops. We'll meet at 1. Feel free to bring food. Thank you.
Senator from Washington.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Finance will meet at 1:30.
Senator from Caledonia.
Senate Appropriations will meet promptly at 1. We have more bills, and we just received another today. So please be prompt, and if necessary, bring your lunch. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator from Essex.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate institutions will meet at 1 o'clock.
Senator from Windsor.
Thank you. Senate Sexual Harassment Panel will meet as quickly as we can. We have 25 minutes to do 2 very important things, so I really would encourage you to get there ASAP and get your lunch afterwards. We'll be meeting in room 41 up on the 3rd floor. Thank you.
Are there any further announcements? Seeing none, the Senator from Chittenden Central has moved that the Senate stand adjournment until Tuesday, March 28th at 9:30 a.m. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed indicate by saying nay.
No.
The ayes appear to have it. Excuse me, the ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. And the Senate will stand adjourned until Tuesday, March 28th, 9:30 a.m.